What's going on, beautiful people? Daniel Medior here. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that is coming literally from the experience, from working with people for the past 11 years and well over 2,000 transformations under my belt right now. And what I see is that weight loss is not a win, not necessarily. You know, the weight loss is definitely beneficial for everybody who has excessive body fat to lose. However, that's not always the win. Why is that? It's because the fact that you lost weight doesn't mean you're going to be able to maintain your new low weight. Now, let's get deeper into that. Many of you have experienced a cycle, a vicious cycle where you're chasing your tail and you get overweight. You get to a certain body weight, let's say 250. Now you panic. You urgently look for the ways to lose weight. And once when you start your fitness journey, you start your fitness program, you start a new great diet, you get back down to 200 pounds. And then slowly you start deviating from the program and slowly you start falling back into your old habits. And now you're back at 250 plus the taxes. Remember, you got to pay taxes. This is Earth. So even the weight gain doesn't come without paying the taxes. What does it mean? You did up to 260. There's a 10-pound tax. So now you're up to 260. You're up your previous 50 plus 10 pounds from taxes. And you panic again. So you start urgently looking for the ways back to fitness again. Now, these vicious cycles repeat sometimes over and over and over for years and years and years. I literally had people hire me from 2020 to 2025 like 3 times. I had this specific case with the lady where she was 280 when she hired me, and we got her down to 200 pounds, and then poof, she disappeared like Houdini. And after about a year and a half, she came back. She's back at 280. Hires me again. We get her down to 200. Then again, Houdini style, she disappears, back up to 280. And she repeated that 3 times, okay? And she will keep repeating this until she finally breaks the cycle of getting back to her old habits. Now, we got to understand this is more psychological than diet and physiology on its own. Because let's say you're in your 50s, you've been living a certain way for the past 45 years, as you can remember. You had a certain nutritional habit, certain foods that you love and like, certain emotions that triggered binge eating within, and you always turn to food. Now, at 50, when you're trying to break this, you're not only battling the body weight, but you're also battling the lifelong habits. You know, just life as it used to be familiar. That needs to go. You cannot live like this at all. If a certain lifestyle got you up to 250, this lifestyle will get you back up to 250 forever. It doesn't matter at what point of life you are. It doesn't matter whether you're 60 or 70, you go back to the old lifestyle, you get back on the cardio, you stop working out, you start reintroducing the foods that you used to eat, right back up to 250. Plus, remember, the taxes. You can't forget the taxes. You're going to pay. So you're going to gain even more. Now, when is truly when you lose weight and you maintain the new body weight for a year? Okay, at least for 1 year of a stable maintenance at the new body weight. Now, you're never going to be able to maintain your lowest low. Let's say you get down to 200 pounds, you'll be able to maintain about 205. You're always going to get back up about 5 pounds when you start eating more than you used to eat in your calorie deficiency. Just simply by consuming more food, more protein, more fat, more sodium, more water. There's more waste in your guts. The body weight goes up naturally. That's completely fine. So if the goal is to maintain 200, you need to get down to 195. Always. And once when you're at 200 pounds, you have to be very, very sober about what's going on. You're very fragile, okay? Where people go wrong is they think now, oh, I can handle a little bit of calamari, even though calamari was their vice their entire lives. Cheesecake was their vice their entire lives. So now they start reintroducing these foods, but what they don't realize is they completely substituted the lifestyle that got them lean and kept them lean for the lifestyle that got them fat in the past. Now, there is a way of balancing things, of course. And what I learned from my previous mistakes, that one thing that went against me was the long fasting, okay? That's why I'm not a fan of longer fast than 48-hour fasts. Even that I only do occasionally with the person or with people or with the client who I really trust that is not going to break him down. And especially now, since I introduced retatrutide into my protocol and program, I am much calmer introducing 48-hour fasts into people routines, because I personally struggle the most with longer fasts than 48 hours. 3-day fast, 4-day fast. After that, I mean, you can talk to me all the benefits of autophagy, all the benefits of inflammation reduction, body weight loss, and body fat loss, and muscle preservation, and growth hormone spike, all that stuff. Listen, I fast 4 days. After 4 days, I'll eat you, and I'll eat your entire stock of animals as well. That's for sure. I'm going to eat the whole goddamn cow. So it's not that beneficial. Not that beneficial where I'm going to fast and starve, and then I'm going to have uncontrollable appetite, which is going to play against me. Okay, so I'm going to turn that fast against myself, because after I finish that fast, I can't stop eating. Not beneficial. So that's why I'm not a fan of longer fasts than 48-hour fasts. And even in my program, like I said, I rarely introduce that. It's just with people who love fasting, who I can trust, who I know don't have binge eating issues. If I have a person who has a binge eating issues, I'm not going to introduce them to a long-term fast. Not at all. No way. The consequences that you got to pay after you come back from the fast and the emotional discipline that you have to have is tremendously high. It's tremendously high. You have to have so much self-control and so much discipline, which, of course, people who binge eat don't have. Otherwise, they wouldn't binge in the first place. They would just simply not eat and not stuff themselves until they feel uncomfortable. So that's one thing I had to cut out completely from my lifestyle as I was maintaining my lowest weight. My lowest is pretty much 250. I used to compete in bodybuilding shows and win shows at 240, so I'm pretty much like 10 pounds above my stage weight. And I can walk around like that, no problem. For the past year and a half, that weight is literally the most stable it's ever been. Literally. One thing I've done, completely eliminated fast. I'll do one meal a day here and there. For the weight loss, no problem. I can do one meal a day, especially now since we have retatrutide. And high calories on Saturday and Sunday, just like I published in my book. You know, you cycle the calories. Monday through Friday, you go low calories. Saturday, Sunday, you go high calories. And that's for the weight loss. Now for the maintenance, what I'm doing personally myself is intuitive eating and making sure that I never, ever binge eat. I never overconsume calories. I made sure that I never feel full after a meal. Pretty much after every single meal, I can work out. And hence, that's what I do. One thing is that it's very beneficial for my blood sugar. After eating, I go do some physical activity. Not a whole lot. Maybe 2-3 sets of chest press, 1 set of rows, 15 burpees, stuff like that. Some jumping jacks, or maybe a little bit of sprints on a bike. This is what I do after every single meal just to balance my blood sugar. And that's why even with the help of retatrutide, my blood glucose levels are now 60 to 80 as a standard. Like my highest glucose is 80 milligrams per deciliter, which is phenomenal. I haven't seen 100 in a really long time. Now, in 2019, before I started this entire carnivore diet and fasting and all this, my blood glucose, morning glucose was like 95. Okay, not too high, not too good though. So now my morning glucose is about 68. However, I'm very fat adapted now, so my body can get away with lower levels of glucose in the blood and not fall into hyperglycemia. Other people might already feel symptoms of shakiness, cold sweats, etc. The symptoms of hyperglycemia. I don't have that. Why? Well, my insulin sensitivity is really high, and I do physical activity after every meal. So every time I eat, I just had, my wife made some chicken with some bacon, some cheese, and stuff like that. She stuffed it. I ate a little bit of that. I made sure I don't feel full under any circumstance. And I did like 20 burpees before I started this live stream. And this is just kind of habits that I've adapted that works very, very well for me. First of all, I change the 20 burpees if I feel stuffed. So that's the signal that I overdid it, okay? If I can do 20 burpees comfortably, not feel uncomfortable in my stomach, not burping like crazy, after that, I know the portion was just good. And I eat only when I'm hungry again. So I wait for the physical hunger. When I feel physically hungry, not psychologically, just psychologically is a different thing. Psychologically means that you think about food and you're like, yeah, I would love some of that. I know, but are you hungry? Be honest, are you really hungry? The answer is no. It's psychological. You're thinking about it. It sounds good. You remember the taste of it. You start literally running the saliva in the back of your jaw because you're thinking about it. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that body at the moment needs energy, calories, nutrients. Not at all. You might be still nutrient sufficient from previous meal. But when I feel physical hunger, that literally my stomach is empty, that's when I eat. Okay, and when I eat, I never overeat. Now, I, of course, prioritize the protein. That's number one. I'm always going to clean up the plate from the protein. Always, always, always. Then I have some fat. I'm not a fan of big fat diet, high fat diet. No, you still got to watch the calories. It's just insane what people do these days with crazy amounts of fats, and they get up to 4,000 or 5,000 calories on a carnivore diet. You're going to get fat. You can't cheat it. It's just, trust me, I would love to eat sticks of butter. I can't do it. I'm going to get fat, guaranteed. I've done it. Because at some point I saw a video of one doctor who was talking about he was eating 6,000 calories a day and he still lost weight. I'm like, there's no freaking way. I'm looking at the dude, he's like 150 pounds, skinny, no muscle, no fat, just bones and skin. I'm like, there's no way this guy is eating 6,000 calories, still losing weight. I'm like, did I miss something? Does he do different carnivore than I do? Like, does he have better beef or some special weight loss beef, or he freaking raises weight loss cows, or what am I missing? Just for fun, for 11 days, I went 6,000 calories on a carnivore diet. I was up 9 pounds. I was sick to my stomach every single day before I went to bed. So full. I was stuffed. I counted every single calorie, which tells me that this doctor came on YouTube. It sounded awesome to promote carnivore diet into this nonsensical illusion where you can eat unlimited amount of calories. I don't think this guy knows what 6,000 calories is. I'm going to bet literally my ass that he has no clue how much food 6,000 calories actually is. It just sounded like a lot, and it promotes the carnivore diet, so he said 6,000. Just his mind, I ate a lot, so let's just say I ate 6,000. No way in the world I'm going to believe this guy, he ate 6,000 calories. He just expressed his emotion of how overwhelmed he felt by the amounts of food he'd eaten. Okay? It's just like a woman who's telling you how she hates her ex-boyfriend and she still loves him. You know, her heart is broken. That's why she's using dramatic words. That's what I would compare this to. This guy comes online. He feels like he was eating a lot. He thinks about it. Okay, let's say it was 6,000. Boom. Not true at all. I gained literally fat like on any other diet. So you can't eat unlimited calories. You can't be stuffing yourself. You have to have control. You have to have discipline, even on a carnivore diet. I always prioritize protein. Now today my wife made some chicken. She put some cheese in it, but now, since I see the cheese on the plate, I'm careful. It's very high on calories. There's lactose, which is sugar. There's fat. There's protein in the cheese as well. The calories in the cheese are very high, so I'm going to have a little bit of cheese. Now there's bacon, a little bit of protein, really high fat. I'm going to have a little bit of bacon, and the chicken is my primary protein source for this meal on this plate. So the chicken is going to take up the most space in my stomach. Okay, I'm going to eat as much chicken as possible, and sides of a little bit of cheese and a little bit of bacon. Because once I prioritize a lot of bacon and a lot of cheese, I'm over the calories. I'm going to have way too many calories and insufficient amount of protein. My muscle mass is going to suffer. So I'm explaining to you how I think about my plate. So the protein goes first all the time. And then I separate the calorie density of different ingredients. I really like to have my food separate. You know, once when you put it all together, I usually take it apart and make sure that, you know, I control the amount of protein, fats, and I tend to see what's going on because, you know, just like you guys, I've been up and down on weight many, many times. I'm not screwing it up. No way. No. I've done weight loss and weight gain in my past many, many times. As I was bodybuilding, we called it off season, which I misunderstood, and I just got fat in my early 20s. I got up to ridiculously high body weights where I had no business being. And I was doing some powerlifting and strongman competitions and bench press and deadlift and squats competitions and stuff like that, where you really need to be big. And I was big. I had the strength. I was not fat. I mean, if I showed you the pictures from there, I was built like a mountain, right? You know, that powerlifting, strongman type of a physique. But it's a high body fat. It's not a low body fat athletic physique. So in my mind, I'm kind of playing with two worlds. Like, if I'm in shape, I compete in bodybuilding, but then in off season, I look like a strongman. Where there are bodybuilders who look like a bodybuilders with six pack on their stomach all year round. I need to be like that because my primary goal was bodybuilding, and I was confused. Like, everybody's saying like you need to eat more to get big. Bullshit. Absolutely not true at all. You're just gonna get fat. You're taking the patience away from slow and steady process, and you're trying to enforce it by eating more calories because somehow in your mind it makes sense that overeating is actually a way of gaining more muscle. No, you're just gonna get fat. It's just all that happened to me. And I gave myself a lot more job and a lot more work to do when I was prepping for the show. Like, if I competed at 230, 240, My beginning weight was 280, 290. I need to lose 50 pounds. Jesus, that's not a that's not a show prep. It's literally a weight loss competition. Like that was in my mind. I'm like, I can't be getting this big. So that's why these days I'm a hell of a careful, literally hell of a careful, and I'm implying a lot of discipline into my eating because I'm not allowing this to happen again. No way, no way. So that's why I separate my food and I kind of look what's going on a plate. And I always prioritize the protein and the foods that are more calorie dense. I eat in smaller amounts. When I see too fatty foods, I eat in a smaller amounts. Now, since I'm maintaining my body fat very efficiently, very easily, I started introducing some of the foods that I like, animal-based, a little bit of fruits here and there, but also soberly thinking about what I'm capable of, meaning I can eat the entire pig. I have to control it. So when I do fruits, let's say I do a handful of grapes and that's it. That's it. No negotiations with myself. Because it can easily end up, because I have a fat soul, okay? My soul is very fat. And if I allow myself to eat a handful of grapes, in my mind, it flips the switch that, hey, you know what? Let's get some Reese's Pieces. Let's get some this and that, just like it used to be in my early 20s or late teens. It would trigger more and more binge eating. So now I'm sober about it. I'm capable of binge eating. I know I'm capable of getting back up to 290 within 6 weeks from now if I just let myself loose, and I'm not going to do it. I'm refusing. So I do a handful of grapes. I'm done. No negotiations. I walk away. And then I go do my burpees or my workout. Or if it's a primary workout, I do my primary workout. Let's say it's upper body with the H3 or lower body with the H3, right? So you have to always keep yourself in check. That's very important. That's why I don't do long fastings. No, 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 no. I have very, very hard times keeping myself in check after I come back from the fast. For that reason, I eat smaller meals throughout the day, probably 2 or 3, okay? Well, I wouldn't say smaller, decent, okay? Decent amount of food, but I'm never stuffed, ever, because my vice, my addiction was to be stuffed. I didn't feel like I ate enough till literally the food was touching my throat, okay? You can't eat like this. You can't, it's too much. It's way too much food. And you do it multiple times a day. Well, of course you look like a balloon. It's just way too much nutrition, too much energy. Stop it. It's my internal conversations that I have in my head, you know? So I never ever get to that point. Now, do I count calories for maintenance? No. But now I became a professional of understanding what feeling after a meal makes me gain fat and what feeling after a meal makes me maintain. Like by end of the day, I can literally tell you with a pretty good proximity what my night weight and what my morning weight the next day is going to be. With a pretty good proximity, because that's how in tune I got within my body. But to get there, I really had to weigh the food, even for the maintenance. So you literally have to dig discipline out of your heel once when you lose weight to be able to maintain your new lowest body weight. Because weight loss is not a win. The win is maintenance after the weight loss happens. And if you understand that after the weight loss, your real job just starts, you will be able to control the destiny of your body composition, destiny of your health, okay? Oftentimes I see people struggling with the health conditions that just don't go away, regardless how well they eat, if they're still overweight. For example, triglycerides, very, very common thing. A person comes to me with high triglycerides, let's say they're 150, they want to get it down to 50, and they change the diet, they start exercising, but triglycerides stay the same, and their weight stays the same. That means that, first of all, they didn't change the diet completely. They eat way too much animal products, plus they cheat here and there. And the diet is much better than it used to be, but the triglycerides still don't drop. However, once when they lose 30, 40 pounds, the triglycerides, they go down right away. They start dropping. The next blood test, boom, 110, 90, 70. And they keep dropping. So oftentimes, a lot of health conditions don't get better unless you lose weight. Like you need to cut off that excessive material on your body that's not meant to be there, period. It has to go. It has to go. So you bring a lot of discipline into the game, okay? After the weight loss, you are knowing the vices that have gotten you to the overweight body in the first place. And you're very well of them. and you control them and you work with them. You still weigh the food, you still separate the macros, you look at the protein, the carbs, the fats at the plate, you always prioritize protein. You never eat until you feel stuffed, ever. That was your vice. That was why you got up to 300 pounds in the first place. Okay, you got to stop that. You cannot binge eat. That's why, again, I'm not a big fan of, for maintenance, eating one meal a day. Just that gives me like 3,000, 3,500 calories in one sitting for me to maintain, again, stuffed. Okay? That means I'm getting back to my old habits. I'm finally feeling stuffed, but the problem with me is I can stuff myself twice or three times a day. And I'm getting back, I'm introducing back that feeling, that hormonal dopamine spike, that, oh my God, we're getting so much food, this is so awesome. I'm reintroducing that feeling back to my brain, that we're back at pretty much what we used to do after the weight loss. So that's why I don't do one meal a day for maintenance. If there are some people who can control themselves very well, they haven't had binge issues, okay, no problem, you can do one meal a day. But for me, no, I cannot feel stuffed. It's like a drug. You want to come back to it. You always want to feel stuffed. And then you look for the ways how to get stuffed. Well, guess what? If you constantly feel stuffed, you're going to look stuffed. After a while, you'll be stuffed. It's the material, okay? You're just going to end up being big. So that's why one meal a day for me for maintenance, no. One meal a day for like 1,500 calories on my low days, fine. I'm not going to feel stuffed from 1,200 calorie meal, especially not from carnivore. So if I need to lose weight and I need to do that a couple of times, I have no problem. But here, hunger is not even my enemy. I learned to work with the hunger. I actually started treating hunger as a friend, which is in a hungry state. Remember, my job is talking to people, doing YouTube videos and stuff. This is, in English, I haven't done a lot of YouTube videos. I haven't done a lot of Facebook live streams, but I stream every single day for the past 10 years back in my country. And when I start fasting and I have a hunger, I learned how to use this hunger into my benefit because I think better, my mind is clearer, okay? I make more sense. I feel like it's easier job for me to explain things. My brain is just better. Now, if I feel stuffed, it all goes away, right? So I started looking at the hunger as a friend that can help me being more productive. That's why if I do calorie deficit and I do one meal a day, I learn how to feel hungry throughout the day and actually look at it as the benefit. I can give more of me to the people who are watching me and following me. However, what's real problem with a person like me who has a fat soul is the feeling of being stuffed, because that's like a drug you keep coming back to. So no way. There's a tremendous difference for a person like me, whether I eat 3,000 calories in 2 portions and I never touch that high of, oh my God, I'm so full, versus eating it all at 3,000 calories and getting that high from the food. No. That's why I'm not going to do it. What about the research? I don't care. I know how I work. I don't care about the research, about what the benefit of one meal a day is, this and that. No. Okay. I'm glad you're searching. I'm glad you're Googling all this stuff. If it all works for you, great. But if you apply it into the real life and you get literally a boomerang response where it works against you, what's the point of the research? Like at the end of the day, you know that eating one meal a day is good for certain reasons. For example, autophagy or growth hormone spike after the 12 hours, and then you get the reduction in the inflammation in your guts. Okay, great. But if this is the research, and you keep stuffing yourself once or twice a day, and then you slowly deviate from the foods that you're stuffing yourself with, and then you squeeze in a little bit of Reese's Pieces on top of it, and you know this is your behavior, you know what this is going to lead to, just forget the whole research. It's not working for you. Because in the long run, with all of your research, you got down to 200 pounds, and after all this research, 2 months later, you're 215. What does it matter? It doesn't matter what the research says. It doesn't work. You gained 15 pounds. You got to come up with new ways that are different from what you used to do. Now, what I never did before in the past was eating until I didn't feel full. That was brand new to me. And one of the big help in my life was my wife. She could never understand how I could eat so much. When I met her, it was a little bit before the carnivore, okay? What I'm telling you right now, it took me 6 years to fix, okay, since I got into this carnivore fasting world. But before I met my wife, I was still this bodybuilder, power lifter, strong man, etc., who was just constantly eating. You know how this bodybuilding life works. We're gonna have a great 2 hour session of legs and squats and deadlifts, and then we're gonna go to all you can eat sushi. And I would literally order. They would hate me at all you can eat sushi places. I would literally make them lose money. And we would just eat so much sushi. And oh yeah, you gotta refeed and you gotta all the carbs to the right places. And yeah, right, whatever. So that was my life before. And when I took her to these places and I took her out for a sushi scene, she never understood how I could eat so much. She's looking at me like, why do you eat all the time? Like, what are we gonna do? Oh, we're gonna go eat here. She's like, well, we just ate 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. She's European. She doesn't do everything with food. In Europe, people drink coffee. Okay, I'll meet you for a coffee. What are you doing Thursday? I don't know. Let's meet up for a coffee. In America, let's meet up for a lunch. Let's meet up for dinner. So she had really hard times understanding, why do I eat so much? Why do I always want to go to restaurants? Like, food is a fuel. And when I look at her history, she's never been more than 112 pounds. You think it's genetics? No. No way. It's her nutritional understanding. It's the way she looks at food. It's the way she looks at nutrition. Nutrition is for the fuel. And when I kind of observed from the distance her nutritional habits, I'm like, geez, this girl has been literally lean her entire life. And when she does a little bit of squats and a little bit of cardio, she's shredded in 3 weeks. Shredded. Six-pack, everything. Veins on her stomach, right? I kind of got inspired. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to get more into that aesthetics. Let's forget about the strength and the power and 600-pound squats and heavy deadlifts and 545 bench presses and all this. Let's throw all of this in the past. Let's go for the aesthetics. And that's where the journey started. And I didn't realize how much work it's going to take for me to get to this point. Like, to master self-control, to master control of your nutritional habits. It was about a 6-year project. Okay, where you constantly have to check yourself. You can't just eat like unsupervised child. You can't. You have a responsibility as an adult to watch your nutrition. You must watch your calories, because otherwise you're going to get sick. It's way too much food. And then we haven't even gotten to sources of the food. We just gotten to simple control of food, okay? If there's too much nutrition in the body, even of the good ones, not good for you. You're just going to get fatter and fatter. So you got to control the portions. And the reason why I brought up my wife is because she brought a different perspective on the food and on nutritional habits than I've had. Because everybody around me was kind of living the same lifestyle. All the bodybuilders and strongmen, and you got to carb up after a meal, and everybody's like 25% body fat, 20% body fat. Nobody's really shredded, right? Now she comes in, she's like, why always food? I'm like, yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm not hungry. That's for sure, I'm not hungry. But I'm still ordering like freaking 3 entrees. Huh, that's interesting. So that helped me change the mindset and get away from the binge eating. Okay, seeing how other people see it. And then once when I lost weight and I maintained at the low body weight, remember when I'm talking about my 300 pounds, it's different than what you think. It still had little bit definition of my abs, still some vein on the biceps, etc. But it's just way too fat for me. I need to be much leaner. It's not healthy for me to be at 300 pounds. It's just some people might think about 300 pounds as literally like chubby. I've never been chubby, but not lean. And it kind of bothered me. Deep inside it bothered me. I'm like, man, I'm supposed to be shredded. Because my real dream was to be a bodybuilder, not like becoming a bodybuilder in the season and then an off season just completely blowing it off and somehow validating it by, you got to eat more to get big, and this is somehow going to make me a better bodybuilder by gaining 40 pounds of fat. No, that was the truth that was happening. I was just getting fatter, and I was validating it by convincing myself that getting so heavy is going to help me put on so much more muscle. No, not the case. So stopping the binge eating was an absolute must. That's why I cannot go on 1 meal a day. Now, even for the maintenance. Actually, for the maintenance, it's much worse. Because when I'll go 1 meal a day for maintenance, that means I have to eat about 3,000, 3,500 calories. That's how much I need to maintain my body weight. About 3,000 calories a day. Within about 500 calorie range. Maybe 3,500 on some days. Depends on the activity. No, I don't need no 5,000 calories a day. I do 5,000 calories a day, I get fat. So 3,000 to 3,500 is somewhere in my maintenance. If I do that in one meal, again, I have that addiction back in me, that feeling of being stuffed. You cannot do that. And I know many people struggle with the same thing. Why? Because I work with them. I work with them. I just spent last 11 years talking to them daily. It's so common. And this is what you're looking for the dopamine hit when you get stuffed. It's like a drug. Unexplainable. Skinny people will never understand. Ever. I love when skinny people bring up a topic of overeating. That's my favorite. I have a friend who's like a 190-pound bodybuilder. He's like, oh man, I am a hard gainer. I can eat whatever I want. I never gain weight. So I'm looking at him. I'm like, well, I know human body doesn't work like it. Everybody has a limit. Okay. Once we cross that limit, you just get fat. But it's interesting to hear him. So he came over to Vegas. We hung out a little bit. And then we decided to go to 888 Japanese Barbecue. It's a great steakhouse. If you haven't been there, you're going to love it. So I took him there. And I'm looking at his order. And once when they brought food in front of him, he's like, oh, dude, this is so much food. And I'm looking at his food. I'm like, my man, I'm going to eat your food. I'll eat you and your wife as well. This is nothing. This is an appetizer. I'm so glad you think this is so much food, because that's why I've never been fat. I'm telling you, with the person who has a fat soul, this right here is nothing. It's an appetizer. And it was very refreshing to see how a person who never had an ounce of body fat on him, he's literally like 8% of body fat all year round without trying, thinks about the food, seeing his beautiful perception of looking at the plate and recognizing this plate to be full. Versus in my eyes, this plate is nothing. He says he's a hard gainer. No, brother, you're not. You just think about the food clearly. You have a good perception of food. Mine is wrong. Mine is broken. I should not want to eat 5 of these plates because my body doesn't need that much nutrition. Okay? And it's so freeing to knowing that your understanding is wrong. When you look at the plate and you have a certain perception of how the plate is supposed to look like, if there is, some people literally have to have a mountain of food on their plate until you show them this plate. Hey, is this enough? And they're like, yeah, that's good. You show this to a skinny person. Jesus Christ, that's food for a week. Hell no, I'm not going to eat that much. Same plate, 2 different people, 2 different perceptions. But when you recognize that your perception of the plate is wrong, you know what you need to work on. You know this plate is going to get you stuffed. Yes. You got to get rid of that addiction. You can't get stuffed. You just can't get stuffed again. It's going to trigger so much dopamine, you're going to go back to it. Tell an alcoholic, just have a shot. Just one. Yeah, right. Because he's going to have a shot and walk away, right? He's going to be hammered. By the end of the day, it's going to trigger the psychology that he won't be able to handle. Same thing with the person who has a food addiction. However, food addiction is a lot worse. Why? Because you can still do everything you want. You can get stuffed and you can drive. You can get stuffed and you can watch TV with wife or joke around and this and that. When you get hammered with alcohol, you're face down on the ground. You're done. You can't live like this. You can't live like this. Okay? But when you get stuffed, you can still live. That's the problem. It's worse to get rid of. You understand? It's easier for you to get rid of the alcohol. Because you can't operate. Your life is going to fall apart. You're going to lose money. People stop respecting you. Your wife's going to leave you. Kids too. But when you get stuffed, you can still operate. You can still sit behind your computer. Yeah, you're going to feel like shit. You don't have no energy. But you can still work. You'll get the job done. You'll push through. Okay? You'll be still able to maintain your life and maintain your income, other stuff. That's why, since it's so easy to operate while being stuffed, it's so hard to get rid of it because it doesn't really negatively impact your life. Other than your health and your appearance, of course. Versus when you're an alcoholic, for long enough, you start seeing how life is falling apart around you. Your finances, your relationships, this and that. You're paying taxes in other aspects than just your health. But being stuffed, you're just paying the tax of your health. Okay? And a lot of people are just going to love you for who you are. You're not going to have a lot of honest people around you calling you out. It's like, hey, dude, that's too much. What about them boobs? You're a man. They're not supposed to be hanged. Fix it. No, you're not going to have many people like that around you. Unless you have a wife like I do. She will certainly call me out in a split second if I cross the line with the body weight, right? Which I really appreciate. I need that. myself. So I kind of wanted to give you a little bit of insight, what's going on in a person's mind and why you keep gaining all the weight back. Just being stuffed and binge eating, it's like a drug. You keep going back, so it gives you dopamine hits. It just feels so amazing, and it doesn't destroy your life, only your health. Okay, sometimes people just don't prioritize their health. They're becoming diabetic. They're like, whatever. We have insulin. We have metformin. There's ways. I'm not gonna stop eating. Okay, so you don't have too much urgency. But long story short, weight loss is not a win. It's what you do after the weight loss. Beautiful people, that's it for today. I'm going to start streaming more and more often on this channel. All these videos will be uploaded to YouTube after this. And since I have not been consistent using my American social media as much for the live streams, I will be using them as much as possible, at least 4 or 5 videos a week from now on, okay? What I asked you to do, please hit the like on my video, because these platforms, such as Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, really reward channels who have interactions from their followers. They recognize them as valuable. And when you hit the like on this video, information can be spread out more into the public. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.